first I want to thank you for inviting me as a Green who doesn't have a great big campaign chest. I have been excluded from a lot of events and have even had to crash 2 forums that I felt entitled to be at that refused to invite me.
Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's just what I expect from you, because you are the only group in 2004 when I ran for Congress who asked me to come to an endorsement interview. So you truly are committed to a process of democracy and open to diverse points of view. So I very much appreciate that. I am running because I feel that there's a corrupt machine that's been, Democratic machine that's been running City Hall for far too long, and the incompetence and the cronyism and the outright criminality of what they do, and some of it's very marginally criminal but still ethically wrong, has made this city so much less than what it can be. And the examples are rife. Every day, practically, in the newspaper, there's another one. The first thing that comes to mind was this very sleazy and phony Run, Ed, Run campaign, supposedly initiated by this tremendous upswelling of grassroots support for Ed Lee, but in fact funded by very large donations from businesses who had very fat contracts with City Hall. So here's an example of 2 power brokers really trying to shove their choice for the next mayor down our throat. There's also this whole issue with the AT&T boxes, these enormous utility boxes, over 400 of them, almost 500, that have been passed by the Board of Supervisors as something that's going to go in without even an environmental review. I mean, it's really outrageous, and it shows how the government is leaning more and more towards business and developers and not really looking out for all the people of San Francisco. And I feel, as a Green, I am the person best qualified to break up what's going on now that is so bad. I also want to point out the kind of thing that a Green mayor did and is doing. Gail McLaughlin in Richmond, with much less resources, much less money than San Francisco, is initiating a program to develop cooperative businesses modeled on what they do in the province of Mondragon, Spain, which has this very long history of worker cooperatives. And it's something that I would love to have here. She's having City Hall meetings, and they're mobbed with people who want to figure out how to start their own businesses, and she's got consultants. So that's a Green way of doing business. I do have a dream of San Francisco being what it can be and leading the whole country in terms of a city that can serve all its residents. I want Muni to be free for everyone and have buses running every 10 minutes from 6 a.m. to midnight. And I want to make Muni magnificent, with every underground station being really an art gallery with murals and mosaics, and every bus shelter a work of art. I also want every bus shelter to be a shelter. These shelters, the new ones that they put in, they don't keep the rain and the wind off. I mean, come on. There's this disconnect between what happens at City Hall and what is planned and what people really need. And to me, as a devoted user of public transit, that is a prime example of it. New shelters that offer less shelter than the old shelters. I also want to have a moratorium on housing for rich people. I don't think they need any more. In fact, there's some statistics that there's 120% of the housing that rich people need. We have enough rich people in San Francisco. We don't need any more. I want to tax the ones that we have, but I really believe that let's have a moratorium on that, and let's only build housing for working class, poor, artists, families. Okay, maybe 5% for market rate, instead of the deals that the developers get where they end up promising us a few units of quote, affordable housing, and then they always go back on that.
Yeah.
in the long run, let's start at the other end. There's a lot of sources of funding for this. For the beginning, I have to say one of my campaign slogans is tax the rich, duh. And by that I mean the federal, state, and local level. The wealth of this country is just zooming upward at a very fast rate, and we need to have far more progressive taxes at every level. That would mean a lot more money for the city. But what the city can do itself, we could have a downtown transit assessment district, because downtown businesses benefit disproportionately from Muni. I think it's appropriate for them to pay more. We can have a municipal bank of San Francisco where all the pension funds are invested. There's nothing to prevent this. We could do it with a charter amendment. North Dakota has a state bank. It's the only government bank, and it has helped them weather the Great Recession much better than otherwise. Also, I'm a firm believer in public power. Every time we've tried to do it, PG&E has convinced the voters that they're not competent enough to handle it. I think that issue has been settled decisively by the incredible incompetence and arrogance that they display in their record keeping and repair. And that would mean cheaper power for city residents and also income for the city. I also believe as mayor, I would work with other mayors. The mayor of Los Angeles has already brought this up. We have to reform Prop 13. Mm-hmm. Prop 13 has been bad luck for California, and it is no coincidence that no other state has passed anything like it. They see what it's done to California, how it's destroyed the whole public sector, and we have to redo it. And I think that if the mayors of California got together and campaigned for it, it would no longer be this third rail. It's ridiculous. It does not benefit. What it benefits most is commercial properties. That's the truth. The burden of tax reform, property taxes is now on people. I decided to run because I was in despair about the country, the state, and what was going on in the city. And I wanted to take on the establishment as Howard Dean did and bring in new ideas. I feel that the country politically is spiraling to the right, being pulled to the right by the Tea Party, and it needs to be pulled to the left by the Green Party, by another party on the left. And as we have seen, the rise of vision on the far right has only strengthened the Republican Party. So I do believe that the Democratic Party doesn't have any reason to fear another vision on the left. We need balance, and a green mayor would help. I think it's time for San Francisco to woman up and become the city that outsiders think we already are. And I know you know what that means. You all know the vision, the fantasy of San Francisco that other people believe, and we know the reality that exists. And I think the country right now needs us to come up and embrace that vision.